Guys, welcome in here to Slaughterhouse Sports, and tonight we're going to break down a very important college football decision that ended up transpiring just a couple of hours ago. The District Court of Virginia and Tennessee basically struck down the NCAA, and now there will be no guardrails on NIL. So essentially now, if you're a booster, if you're a collective, it's go time. Fire the cannons and the horses are off. Okay, basically it's free for all college football. And this is what I'm talking about. The thing that I have to say about all of this is that we've come to this point. Like, I doubt that college football players are all going to now just, huddle up and say, all right, we don't want any payment. We just want to go to school. We just want tuition. We don't want any outside money. And for the longest time, boosters under the table have been paying guys off under the table. But essentially, I don't think there's going to be a day again or a day anytime soon where college football players are not going to be paid to play football. And frankly, to be honest with you guys on this topic, first of all, you're never going to hear a journalist, you're never going to hear anybody say that they don't want somebody, that they don't want an 18 to 22-year-old kid to not get paid. You're not going to hear that over the airwaves at all. When's the last time a guy said that they didn't want, the kids getting paid? So in that sense, I agree. I like the kids getting paid because they're bringing in a lot of money to the university. Their jerseys are being sold. And in the game of football, it's a dangerous, hazardous game. It still is, even with targeting, even with, the rules. It's still it's really a contact sport. And frankly, like these guys, they don't really have that big of a social life. They have to make a lot of sacrifices to be excellent at the game of football, and they put in blood, sweat, and tears to the program. So the fact that they're compensated, I really don't have a problem with people making money, okay? I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with people making a ton of money, and these college kids deserve it. So I know that 18 to 22-year-olds making money, that older people are not going to like that because they grew up with college football where, instead of liking it, instead of going somewhere because of money, you want to go somewhere because you like the school. Well, guess what? I still think that a lot of these college guys, even though they're being paid, they still love the school that they're going to. I still think Caleb Downs is going to love playing in Columbus at the Horseshoe, going to classes at Ohio State. I still think he's going to love it. I think he's going to love the whole college experience. I think that Jaden Daniels loved playing quarterback at LSU. I think that Bo Nix liked playing quarterback at Oregon. In fact, Marvin Harrison had a lot of trouble making a decision whether he wanted to leave Ohio State because he loved it. That Michigan team that won the national championship this year, do you not like Blake Corum as much, or J.J. McCarthy, or Roman Wilson, or the defensive line as much because these kids are getting paid? Or do you love the kids just as much being a fan? Because in my experience, and the people that I've watched games with, we still cheer the same way on Saturdays in college basketball, on Saturdays college football, on Tuesday nights, Wednesday night college basketball. The NIL has not ruined the experience of watching these guys play. And in fact, I'm happy for these players. I really like the college football athlete and the college football player. And I have a ton of respect for them. And a lot of times they're more mature. They have to grow up faster than a lot of kids that are 18, 19, 20 years old because they're under a microscope, of attention. And that's how special the sport is. That's why we care about the sport. We love it. The media does the same thing. All right? So understand that portion of the college football life and experience. The thing that now there's a couple of issues that I have with college football. Believe it or not, the fact that it doesn't have a salary cap, I frankly don't care. That's good for the player. They're going to make as much money as possible. They're going to have generational wealth for their families. And there are players that play college football that peak when they're 20, when they're 21 years old. You can go to the NFL and you can flame out in the NFL. You can lose your job. You can barely, you won't even start at the next team that you're on. And your highlights are your college career. That's why I'm sad to see people leave in their junior year for the draft and not come back and try to win a national championship or not get the most out of their college experience. I want people to get the most out of playing college ball because I believe that college ball can be the be-all, end-all. I like college football a ton more than the NFL, and I used to be a big NFL guy. Maybe that's because the New York Giants haven't been playing very well. Maybe that's because they've never been a threat to ever win anything substantial in the postseason for a decade plus. But college football, when you go to Ames, when you look at Manhattan, Kansas, teams can go 8-4, 9-3. Those rivalry games are awesome. The Sunflower Showdown between Kansas State and Kansas, that's a great game. The Cyhawk rivalry between Iowa and Iowa State. Odds are those teams are not going to be vying for a national championship. But that game is heated. That game has intense rivalry. That game's freaking sweet. Okay, even though the players are making a little bit of dough now, they still hate each other. Nebraska and Iowa is fierce. The Big Ten football in the Midwest, that's what I'm talking about. And it's been that way for the last 2 years. Even though money is matriculated into the game, the regular season has still stood strong in that face. The regular season has still been elite as elite can be because we did not have conference realignment. The playoff was at 4 teams instead of 16 teams. The playoff was a nice size, and we still had 11 to 12 regular season games of great regional conference rivalries. Last year of college football was spectacular. I loved every second of it. I loved it. Now, the thing that is messed up about college is the last week of college, which is the bowl games. Those bowl games have not been good. The Orange Bowl was a joke. The best players are not playing in the bowl games. That's a problem. That is something that if you were in a coma for the last 10 years and you were in 2014 and then you looked at 2024, you'd be like, why the heck are there opt-outs in bowl games? It's because players are so worried about that final game and they want to preserve their draft status and they want to get that contract. I can understand that. They want to be guaranteed that money. There should be a way to create insurance on the bowl game. That's what you need to do, insurance on the bowl game. But in terms of NIL and the salary cap and guys making money, it's great. It's capitalism at its finest. It's guys that deserve to be paid like Caleb Downs, Will Howard, your superstars, Cam Ward. It's them making great money for themselves. It's them growing up and getting and working on their craft and then getting paid. Okay, and being able to learn what it's like to have a lot of money from a very young age and learn how to spend it wisely, learn what oh no, I'm losing a lot of money in this. Oh, I'm gaining a lot of money here. And also an NFL career is not guaranteed whatsoever. So again, this is a contact violent game, okay? These guys are hitting hard. And again, your body's not going to hold up forever as an athlete. You might as well cash in and get paid. So I can understand that. Can really understand that. So in terms of a salary cap, that's not good for the player because then it limits their earning potential. And also the non-salary cap of NIL and the transfer portal, it's allowed programs like Ole Miss, it's allowed programs like Miami, Texas A&M, Nebraska, the best college football fan bases, it's allowed them to be competitive again. Because in Lincoln, Nebraska, since they live in the middle of the country, they don't live near the ocean, people are not thinking about Lincoln. They think that Nebraska is just full of corn. They haven't been to Omaha. They haven't been to Lincoln. They haven't been to North Platte. They haven't been to these cities. They haven't been to Papillion. They haven't been to these cities in Nebraska. They think that it's all made of corn. But guess what? The NIL entices athletes to be able to go to Nebraska. And now Nebraska, maybe through NIL, was able to then get a legacy in Dylan Raiola instead of him going to Georgia and having him be a backup quarterback for a year. Now he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks at the University of Nebraska. So you learn how to allocate your resources. The sport takes on more parity. It does. The SEC, like LSU, Texas A&M, these schools are going to be really good because the boosters. And guess what? You put your money where your mouth is. As a fan, you can help contribute to your team. You can donate to Arizona State Athletics. You can donate to Oregon. Okay? You can donate to Washington, to Arizona Athletics in hopes to retain and get your best talent. So the fans can pretty much, it's almost like the Green Bay Packers. The fans can be owners of the team to some degree. The fans can fund these guys, put money in their pockets, okay? And they could do that. They could take this generational money in most cases, in some cases, and they can help out their families. So the salary cap would be a mess because then you would have equality in places that shouldn't be equal. Like, why should Jalen Milroe make the same amount of money as the quarterback at, a South Carolina or even than Graham Mertz, because Jalen Milroe was better than Graham Mertz? Jalen Milroe is worth more money on the market value than an LSU quarterback's going to be this year. Okay, just because they play in the same conference, same division, maybe you can give incentives, but why would Caleb Downs, why would these stars be worth the same amount of money? All right, in sports, in any line of work, there are always going to be employees that are more valuable. That's called life. That's called competition. And then guess what? If you're maybe a first-year starter like a Lenora Sellers, after you have that great freshman year, you could be like, I want to make Jalen Milroe money. And that's the beauty of sports. That's the beauty of life, is that it is competitive. And not everybody's going to be in the same boat. You're going to have people who rise and people who fall. You're going to have people who get knocked down. You're going to have people who rise. And those people who rise are going to make money, and they're going to make it at a higher level, because that's what the real world is all about. That's how a functional society works, with winners and losers in life. Or people who win at a high level get that reward of income, of money, of fame, of all of that. So right now, the system of college football is fine. The thing that I do not like is nothing to do with NIL. I hate that television has turned into, I don't like that television has ruined the product of college football. I don't like that on the East Coast at 10 o'clock at night, I can't watch Washington State play UCLA anymore. I can't watch Oregon play against Arizona. I can't watch Oregon State play against Stanford at 10:30. It used to be 10:30 at night had all of these games. But now it's all big noon kickoff. If you tailgate for a big noon kickoff game, it's terrible, because you have to wake up at 9 o'clock. I'm not a morning person. And in fact, it ruins the bar scenes on Friday nights for these college towns, because the kids then have to wake up early. They have to day drink. And then guess what's going to happen? They go to the game, and then at night they have to take a nap because you're exhausted. You're starting a game at noon. People's bodies aren't even ready to roll. The Pac-12 cares so much about money that they start games at 9 o'clock a.m. That's where I really disagree with Deion Sanders. I agree with him about a lot of things. He's like, I want my team to be seen on the East Coast. Who gives a hell about the East Coast? If you're a good team, you're still going to be able to compete for championships. Stanford, USC, all those teams in the Pac-12 still competed for championships, regardless if 5 people watch their games or 10 million. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey didn't win a Heisman Trophy. Came damn close. So I'm tired of that. I'm tired of television money ruining start times for games. It's ruined the conferences. It's really ruined the conferences, and it's ruined our college football playoff. Because, again, the regular season, and I'll give a shout-out to, one of my favorite sports broadcasters in the business, and Josh Pate, and he's on a much bigger level than the show, but he is elite at what he does. He is the elite of the elite. He's the best out there in any sport talking about it. The regular season is college football. And you look at the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs can lose to the Raiders. They can go to Lambeau and urinate down their leg against Jordan Love and that team. They can lose to the Eagles, 10-7, the same Eagles team that goes on the rapidly decline and lose in the wild card round. The Chiefs can just ho-hum their way in a weak AFC West, okay, where coaches were getting fired left and right, and new coaches and, quarterbacks getting injured and everything along those lines. They can go to the playoffs, limp their way into the thing, and then, okay, they beat Buffalo on a game, on a field goal the guy didn't hit, and then they turn it on, bam, snap of a switch, they beat Baltimore, and they end up beating San Francisco and winning it all, and they were great all along. But in college football, the beautiful thing is that game at Auburn, if Jalen Milroe doesn't hit that throw, then there is no Alabama going to the college football playoff. If Texas and Quinn Ewers didn't beat Alabama in the regular season, there is no Texas going there. Texas needed to hang on against Kansas State. That Kansas State-Texas game was a playoff game. If Texas lost, they would have been out of the college football playoff. A lot had to break wrong for Florida State not to get in. But Florida State still went undefeated. They still went to the Orange Bowl. Can't you enjoy that season? I know that they didn't get a chance then to face one of the bigger, teams, and that's unfortunate. That is going to be a rare occurrence, but it's going to happen in a 14 playoff. If you wanted to make it 6, you give teams a bye, okay. Give teams a bye. But now you're adding a conference championship game and a bye. That's like 15 or 16 games. That's a lot of games for a young football player, for an 18 to 19-year-old kid who's used to playing 12 high school games. That's insane. They're playing 10 games in high school, and that's a fair amount because of scarcity, the art of scarcity, okay, where big games should be big games, okay? And you want gladiators to go out and fight, and that's what makes it great. When you're talking about De La Hoya, versus, versus Lennox Lewis, you're talking about Louis De La Hoya, or you're talking about Mike Tyson versus Holyfield Tyson. Those events are incredible because they happen once a year, and it only happened like 3 times a year. Barrera Morales, featherweight boxing, when boxing was at its heyday, because the buildup and the game is amazing. And I've heard people say, and it's true, you're going to have Michigan, Ohio State. That game last year was incredible. That last drive, all the intensity. Ohio State losing that game, not making the playoff. That was a playoff game. That was amazing in Ann Arbor at the Big House. That was incredible. That's one of those games that's also been played at noon, so that would be the exception because that's a traditional game that has been played at that time. Yeah, make it even 12:30. But then imagine those two teams then go to Indianapolis, and imagine they have to play again the next week. Oh, my gosh. They just finished. Michigan has all the bragging rights, but then you go another week, and Ohio State beats them. It makes that game void. It makes that memory dissipate. makes that memory non-void. It makes that memory of that game. It minimizes what is an incredible, incredible product, which is on-campus regular season football when the teams are playing their 11th game of the year, their bodies are healthier, they're ready to roll at game 11. I don't want them to play game 14 a rematch in the same year. I don't even need that. I need that one game to be on fire. And I want the fans of that game to be rewarded for something that is that special. So that is what is more concerning to me than the NIL piece of college football. The NIL piece is actually interesting. The transfer portal is interesting. Okay, creates interest in the offseason of the sport, creates a lot of movement, puts pressure on coaches to treat players right, to have a plan of development. And if you don't have that plan, you're gonna see a player leave. Okay? And if the money is similar and the money is a little more somewhere else, you're going to see coaches with proven track records of getting guys to the league. They are going to stay. And you're going to see the best coaches rise. You're going to see stable programs rise in this marketplace. And that is interesting. And that's kind of where we are. And that's the change that, to me, is the very least of the change. The thing that's going to affect me as a fan, or us as a fan community, is seeing the Pac-12 die out, is seeing Stanford go to freaking Georgia Tech in the middle of October, is going to see Cal, is going to see a team like Virginia Tech go to Cal. And then SMU. What the heck is that? That's an unrecognizable part of the sport. Seeing a kid on a commercial or a billboard, is that really going to bother me? I mean, part of me enjoys it for that kid. Now, I get you could say, that kid is arrogant, he's cocky, he's driving a Lamborghini around campus, he's flaunting his money. You know, got younger people that have a lot of money, like they have a target because people get jealous of that. People think you have to pay your dues in life, and I can see that line of thinking. I understand where people come from that say, I loved when kids played for the sake of the game and they didn't play for money. I understand that. I can understand that opinion. I really can. So, but I want the sport of college football to remain similar. And I think that we've gone to a place now with these conferences being gone and the expansion of the playoff is much more of a pressing need than if a guy's making a couple $1,000. So the sport right now is trying to juggle like 6 things, and eventually not all 6 things are going to be great. They're trying to juggle 6 changes. And they're trying to change a sport in which I enjoyed thoroughly, which didn't need altering because it was so damn good. It's like Steph Curry then his 3-point shot is awesome, all right? It's like Allen Iverson being taught, you can't cross the basketball over like that. Or Steph Curry saying, why don't I tinker with this shot? It's just like Tiger Woods changing his swing and it didn't work. It was like Andy Roddick changing the way he hit a forehand. It's like a great baseball player doing the home run derby, changing their swing and ruining what was a really good thing. And that's what college football is preparing to do. They're preparing to ruin something that was really working and really successful and awesome in the name of television, in the name of TV dollars. And it wasn't like TV guys were struggling. They were doing well. They were succeeding. But now the sport, no one seems to grab a hold of the sport, and no one seems to cherish what made college football so special. And that is disappointing.